What does the Pope declaring himself the Vicar of Christ really mean?
Deep and historically rich question. The phrase Vicar of Christ, Latin, Vicarius Christi, carries both theological and symbolic weight. To understand what it means when the Pope declares himself the Vicar of Christ, we have to look at its religious, political, and esoteric layers. What it means when the Pope declares himself the Vicar of Christ. 1. Literal meaning, the representative of Christ on earth. Vicar comes from the Latin vicarius, meaning substitute or representative. So when the Pope claims the title Vicar of Christ, he's saying, open quote, I stand in the place of Christ as his representative and spiritual authority on earth. In the Catholic worldview, this means the Pope is the earthly head of the Church, guiding humanity as Christ would if he were physically present. Close quote. 2. Theological interpretation, divine authority through succession. Catholic doctrine teaches that the authority of the Pope comes through the apostolic succession, an unbroken spiritual lineage traced from the Apostle Peter, to whom Christ said, upon this rock I will build my church. Thus, the Pope's declaration means he inherits the mantle of Peter, acting as Christ's voice in matters of faith and moral guidance. 3. Political and historical significance. Declaring oneself the Vicar of Christ historically consolidated worldly power as well as spiritual influence. During the Middle Ages, this title positioned the papacy above kings, implying that divine law superseded all earthly rule. The Pope became not only a spiritual leader, but also a mediator between heaven and humanity, holding both sacred and temporal authority. 4. Esoteric interpretation, the archetype of spiritual centralization. In esoteric terms, this title symbolizes the centralization of divine connection through one earthly figure, a bridge, pontifex between realms. However, many mystics and spiritual initiates see this as a metaphor for what exists within every soul, the Christ consciousness that connects humanity directly to Source. From this view, the true Vicar of Christ is not an external office, but the awakened heart of each individual. 5. The duality of the claim. For some, it represents divine stewardship, a sacred duty to uphold love, compassion, and unity. For others, it symbolizes spiritual centralization and control, placing divine authority in the hands of institutions rather than individuals. Both interpretations reveal the ongoing tension between organized religion and personal divine sovereignty. Message. When the Pope calls himself the Vicar of Christ, it represents humanity's ancient desire to make the invisible visible, to embody the divine on earth. But the higher truth is this: Christ consciousness was never meant to be contained in one man. It lives in all who awaken to it. Would you like me to